Okay, today you are now putting your skills to the test and you're going to make an app work using what we know about conditionals. So, on Bubble 2 of Lesson 8 on code.org, you're going to start with what we can actually physically see and interact with a fully functioning app. So, you're given some tasks to just play around with the app and try to figure out maybe what is going on behind the scenes. So first it says to make a ticket for a weekend. Let me hit run. I'm going to choose a Saturday and it wants to know how much does it cost. So it doesn't tell me what age I should put in, so we'll assume it doesn't matter and we can create the ticket. Okay, it's saying I chose Saturday, I chose age 5, the price is $10. Just to make sure, let's choose a higher age and see if it gives me any different price. Nope, still $10. And maybe like a really old person and see if there's any other discount. Nope, still $10. We can try it again on Sunday and see if it's any different. Still $10 and still $10. So I would just kind of take some notes about that so that we know how we're going to need to make the app function. We know that no matter the age, if it's a weekend, the price is $10. So I'm writing that down. Next, make a ticket for a weekday and someone 18 or younger. How much does it cost? So choosing any weekday, someone younger than 18, and it is telling me that the price is $5. So we know weekday and under 18, 18, price is $5. Let's just check and see what happens if I go over 18. My price is $10 again. So if it's a weekday, and you're under 18, then the price is $5. Otherwise, your price is going to be $10. And it's also $10 on a weekend. Next, try the discount code Free Friday. And it is important that you use all caps, just like it shows, on a Friday. And the price is $0. Let's see if it changes if I use that code on a different day. It does. It goes back up to 10. So 10 you can see is my default and it is only $0 if it's Friday and I use the code. So we're thinking about, first of all, what variables are probably going on behind the scenes? What information is it using, collecting, let's say, and then comparing and then using that to decide an output. So that is a conditional statement. It's going to say your age is less than or equal to 18. Then it's going to perform this specific code. And then also, where does it use those conditionals, meaning your if statements? If the user is under 18 and it is a weekday, then the price is $5. Else, the price is $10. So we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to go over the activity guide that's included with you. You do not need to turn this in. I'm just going to show you what is on there. So first of all, it just shows you the same thing that we just learned, that you're testing out the app and figuring out what is going on. And next, we're going to look at what variables do we know that we need to create for this app. And I've already filled this out for you. You are going to need a variable called day, a variable called age, and a variable that collects the discount code. We can call that whatever we want to, though. I have just simplified it and called it code here. So what information does the day variable store? It stores whichever day the user selects from that drop-down menu. What information does the age variable store? It selects the age, or it stores the age that the user selects from that drop-down menu. And what information does the code variable collect? It collects whatever the user types here. So if they type the wrong code, it's still going to take that and then compare it with the correct code and tell us whether that's true or false and perform some code based on whether it's true or whether it's false. So I've already filled that part in with you, and we will learn that there are two more variables that we'll have to create throughout the code, but we'll get to that later. Next, it wants you to draw a flowchart that follows the rules below. Okay, so I switched things around a little bit so you could see this better. So thinking back to the flowcharts that we've worked with in the past, first you will show what three variables you are going to bring into your conditional statements and consider them, and then output something based on your evaluation of those variables. So, our first and most specific circumstance is when you will end up with a $0 priced ticket. And that is only true if it is Friday, so only one day of the week, and only if you have the discount code of Free Friday. So that's the first thing that we want to check for, the most specific results. Day has to be equal to Friday, in quotes, capitalized. Everything has to be exactly the same as what it's going to show in your text drop-down menu. And the code has to be equal to Free Friday, all capitalized, spelled exactly the right way. If these are both true, then the expression evaluates to true, and it will give you the result of $0. If it is false, if either one of those is false, if they don't enter the code, or if it's not Friday, then the whole expression will be false, and you'll move on to our next thing that we want to check for, which is it a weekday and are you under age 18? So, an easier way to check for a weekday is to say that it's not a weekend, because then you only have to check for 2 days. You only have to say it's not Saturday and it's not Sunday. Oops, I forgot a quote there. And also, you'll have to check the age, that the age is less than or equal to 18. Is it equal to or 18 years or younger? You pay $5. So if both of these are true, it has to be a weekday and you have to be 18 or under. Both of them have to be true for the whole expression to evaluate to true. And in that case, your ticket cost $5. And if that is not the case, then your ticket would cost $10. So if it is a weekend, or if you are above 18, or if it's a weekday and you're above 18, if in any scenario, all of any of these on this line evaluate to false, then the whole thing will be false. And so the default then is a $10 ticket. Moving on. Here is a little chart that you can plug in this age, this day, and this discount code, and make sure that you following through the flow chart, that your logic is correct every single time and that you don't need to tweak anything. All right, the next step is then to write the code for your app on Bubble 3. You are suggested to follow these steps, creating all your variables that I listed in the chart right here. So on yours, you are starting with kind of just a little bit of code, very, very little bit, but they've got comments in there to show you kind of what steps you need to take to make this app function completely. And I like to have two screens open so that I can go back to Bubble 2 where I can remember exactly how the app is supposed to work, and then go back to Bubble 3 where I can be working on my code and making sure it works the same way. So if I start with um, adding my variables, remember we can go to the variables drawer. We want it to say var because we're creating them for the first time. And I know that I have 3 for now. And I've called them day, age, and code. You can then, what does it say? Give your variables a starting value. So it's not always required that you give it a starting value, because think of what a variable is. It's a baggie where you are eventually going to put some information in there and use it for something else later. So whenever the user would be using this app, they are going to choose a different day, a different age, and a different discount code. So it kind of doesn't matter what you put as a starting value, but you might want to start out with just an empty string for anything that is going to be a string. And for anything that's going to be a number, you could just start with 0. So that solves that. And these little warnings are just there because you haven't done anything with the variables anywhere else in the program. So just ignore them for now. Next, you're going to create an event handler for the calculate button. Now they already have that for us, so we don't have to do anything. Inside the event handler, start writing code for your conditional using your flowchart. So looking back at your flowchart, if we are to kind of have that in mind, go back to your bubble, and I'm going to get rid of these little spaces here. There's too many of them. Okay, update my variables. That's the first thing I need to do. Now make sure that you do not choose one that starts with var. We don't want to create a new version of the variable. We're just going to update the existing value. So let's start out by adding one for each of our variables. And then what do we want to go into the baggie called day when the user clicks on the calculate button? We want to choose whatever the user selected from their drop-down menu. So we want it to collect information from day drop-down. So we're going to go to UI controls and say get text. There it is. Get text from day drop-down. It's going to take whatever they selected on drop-down and now input that into our baggie called day. And you're going to do the same thing except a get number this time on the age. And again, we're getting it from a drop-down, age drop-down. And the discount code, this one is not a drop-down. It's called like discount input, I think, but we're still getting text. So let's choose get text and discount input, I believe is what it's called. Okay, so now we've updated all of our variables with the information that the user gave us. Now check the value of the variables to decide the price to set. And that's where the flowchart really comes in handy. We already made this, we already thought through all the logic. Now we just have to put it in the form of an if-else statement, or in this case, an if, else if, else statement. So go to your control, and you know that you need to select this one, and we have to hit the little plus. So we have an if, else if, else. And then we're going to have to pull in some math. So what do we need first? I would look at this whole thing and determine, do I need an and, an or a not? And I already see that I have an and, so I'm going to pull that one over first. And then what goes on the left side? What's the first thing that I'm checking for? Is day equal to Friday? And I should have put double equal signs on these so that you remember that you were supposed to do that with your code as well. Equals day. Make sure it's written exactly the same as your variable. So I'm pulling what day the user gave me and I'm comparing it to Friday. Is day equal to Friday? And then I want to check, is code equal to free Friday? Okay, if those two are both true, what do I want to happen? And I'm going to come back to that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my other conditional statement. And we have not equal to, and not equal to, and less than or equal to. Which one do I do first if I'm dragging these blocks over? Well, the thing is, I don't have to drag the blocks over. I could type this out if I wanted to in text mode. But if you're going to drag the blocks over, you need to start with what's like the base? What are the two main things that I am comparing? I'm comparing day and I'm comparing age. So that's an and right here. Pull that one over first. And then what goes on the left side? Another and. What goes on? And then inside that, I have a not equal to and another not equal to. This one gets a little crazy. And then on this side, I have a less than or equal to. So if day is not equal to Saturday and day is not equal to Sunday and age is less than or equal to 18. And in all other scenarios, I'm going to be $10. So here's where I find it easier to create another variable. I need to do it either outside of my on event or just inside my on event, but not inside my if statement. So I'm going to go ahead and create it here. And this is called price. And I'm going to start it at 0. Doesn't matter again because I'm going to update it. Update my variable in here. So if these two things are true, my price is going to be 0. If these two things are true, my price is going to be 5. In all other scenarios, my price is going to be 10. Okay, next, create the text for the ticket. So we want to create some way that it's going to compile all that information so that I can set it onto the screen. So one way to do that is to actually create another variable called output. Okay, and what do I want to put in my baggie called output? I want it to concatenate, and I'm going to go ahead and type all this out, and then it will switch it to blocks for me in a layered way, like up here. So I want it to say, let's look back at bubble 2, day colon space. Oops, sorry, not that one. Day colon space plus select the day plus what's next? Next, I want it to go down to the next line. So I need to start with that by doing a backslash, not that one, backslash in, and then the next thing, age colon space, add the current value of age, backslash in, price is the last one, colon space, dollar sign, and then the current value of price. Okay, so now let me click out of that. There we go. So now it oh my gosh, it scared me. Now it added all those blocks for me, but I find it more confusing to try to stack those blocks. There's a siren going on. We're just going to ignore it. And then it wants to set the text on the screen. So that's a UI control. We say set text. Where do we want to set the text? It's called ticket output. And what do we want it to put? Well, we want it to put the current value of the variable output. We created a variable called output here. We told us all the things that we want to be inside that we want to put inside that variable. And now we just have to display what's ever in there. What is in that baggie? So let's run it, make sure everything works. Let's choose Friday with the code free Friday. And our price is $0. Let's choose a weekday and I'm under 18. Take that off. $5. Let's choose a weekend or anything. My price is $10. So I would Make sure that you don't have any errors or warnings along here. And the last thing that you need to do, and this is in the rubric that I've got for you on Classroom, is to add a couple of comments. I would suggest adding a comment uh, right before the on event, kind of just describing what this on event is doing, essentially. So, summarize. You're taking the inputs from the customer and outputting the price of the ticket. So, say that in your own words. And then I would also, right before this if statement, put another comment. And I would say, essentially, what is it checking for? I'm going to check if it's, I mean, you can just kind of explain what's happening in your own words and go to the rubric that I've got on Google Classroom and just double check along this column that you have everything included so that you get full points for your make. And then finally, you'll make sure that you submit that at the very end.